Hello, everyone. It's Nigel Seeley. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. It's Tuesday. It's an ATP Tour 250 event in Montpellier. Come on, get excited. Sean, what a card we have. What a card. How are you,
What a
mate?
card. I'm all right. Yeah, I think. Not massively enthused by this by this Montpellier draw, from BS. I think I made the right decision to withdraw from the tournament, to be honest. We've only got three matches to look at, haven't we, tomorrow? And they are the three that are set so far. So it's kind of Hobson's choice. And yeah, they're not the most appealing of matches. It's possibly the quietest week on the ATP tour. This, isn't it? Because there's one. Last week this was a missing week, wasn't it? They played the Davis the Australian Open, and then they had a Davis Cup week this week. This week it's the same, but they've just thrown Montpellier in. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
Who knows what they decide on the ATP tour? But it's just one tournament, and yeah, it's not a classic. Let's just say that.
Not a classic, but, cashing tickets, it doesn't matter whether you're cashing tickets at the
Oh
World
no,
Cup final or the qualification at the
if there's
Montpellier
value,
Open.
absolutely. If there's value around and there's a good bet to be had, I'm not bothered. It's just that there isn't much of that either.
Yeah, Sean
But we'll
Calvert
see.
is our senior ATP Tour handicapper here at Because We Win. And I've really got him to do the hard work today because we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon at around about 2 o'clock across in London. And there's not really much happening. There's some matches that we've already previewed that are playing tomorrow as well. So the first round is stretched over a couple of days. And there's only three matches, as Sean said there, that we're going to talk about. And there's three heavy favourites in action, a lot of French players involved as well.
There is
But
some French news, by the way. Sorry to
yeah, sure.
interrupt there,
Break
mate.
it. Well, we need it. We
hear-
need to fill anything on this show. So just crack on.
Everyone knows that I was a little bit less than enthused by the lower dungeon at Bercy, in the last couple of years. But did you hear yesterday they've moved it? They're moving the tournament now.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're moving it to the La Défense Arena, which is kind of just over the other side of the river from the Arc de Triomphe. So no more
Ooh.
lower dungeon. If you want to go to and experience the delights of the downstairs basement cellar dungeon, whatever you want to call it, at Bercy, this is your last chance this year, 2024, because it's moving to a much bigger arena. Finally, they're moving it from 2025. So you want to go to Bercy, experience the pain of queuing for about 4 hours for a tiny little rubbish court downstairs. This is your last year to do it. It's moving venues.
I don't think there'll be many takers on that. Yeah, Bercy wasn't. I think it was all right. It wasn't great, but being in the heart of Paris sounds much more appealing.
Yeah, it's. I don't know Paris that well. I mean, it's not great that the tournament's in November. It's not. I don't think you're seeing Paris at its best, are you? In kind of early
No.
November. So it's not a fabulous trip. But if you happen to be around, it's an interesting venue, the Accor Arena, isn't it? You don't sort of see many arenas shaped like that. It's worth going. Just be aware that you would have to queue for about 3 hours to get into the lower dungeon. But now that they're going to the Défense Arena, that should alleviate, in theory, it should alleviate those problems.
So that's at the end of
That's
the
the
year.
French tennis news.
It's the French tennis news, breaking news, and a lot of French players in action today over in Montpellier. It's a local event, and one of our picks as well is in action a little bit later on today. Kazoo, hopefully he can get through to the round of 16. Very popular in the Bet Rivers market as well, to win the tournament after Sean picked him on Monday's show at 12-1.
Andy Murray's out as well, isn't he? Of course, we talked about.
Yeah, Benoit Paire.
Benoit Paire, we said, didn't we? There was if you're brave, you fancy a bet, Paire might do it for you, and he did. So
yeah, an amazing amount of people watch the show, views and subscribers. So thank you again very, very much. I mean, this isn't, it's a massive come down from the Australian Open last week, 2 weeks of some brilliant tennis to come to Montpellier in a 250 event. So thank you very much for everybody to watch, and hopefully we're giving you some information. You're cashing tickets. That's what it's all about. So thank you very much for all the new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. And give us a like and give us a comment. Let us know what you think about the shows, and any questions you have, we will ask them. Happy to answer them. Anyway, without further ado, I know you can't wait for this. There are three matches we're going to talk about, and the first match is this is the peak of the match. Alexander Shevchenko against a man that I've actually asked you to pronounce his name, Svrcina. Svrcina, is that correct?
I
Svrcina.
think so. Svrcina, something like that. Yeah, I think you're in the general vicinity there. You won't go too far wrong with that, I don't think.
Okay. So Svrcina against Shevchenko. Shevchenko is a favourite, -305 with Bet Rivers, +235 for Shevcina. The handicap or the spread here is 4.5, -122 for Shevchenko, -104 for Shevchenko. The total is 20.5. Over is -115, under in -110. And breaking news from Russian tennis: Shevchenko has now said he wants to. He said it's allegiance to Kazakhstan. He's now a Kazakhstani player.
Same as his doubles partner this week. He's followed the same route as Alexander Bublik, who moved from Russia to represent Kazakhstan. They're playing doubles together this week in Montpellier.
So an interesting move there. Shevchenko has got, we've spoken about him a lot, lots of talent, but his recent form hasn't been that great. Got beat by in very disappointing circumstances in Australian Open round 1. Got beat by O'Connell at Adelaide. And Shevchenko has come through qualifying here with 2 fairly decent wins. I mean, he beat Seperi, didn't he? Or Seperi?
Tough ones. Yeah, 2-7-5 in the deciding set. Wins.
What do you think of this one then, Sean? This match starts at 6:30 Eastern time tomorrow on Wednesday.
Well, Svrcina, in case you don't know him, he's not the biggest of guys. He's about my sort of height, actually. He's not going to knock you off the court with huge weapons. Plays generally relies a lot on court craft, solidity, decent shot maker, but nothing dangerous about his game, really. Doesn't have anything like a big serve. It's a very mediocre serve at best. So, you got to wonder, at this stage of his career, whether he's going to have the tools to be a really top player. Not sure yet. Plays generally most of his matches on clay. As I said, qualified the hard way, 2-7-5 deciding sets to get through to the main draw. And this will be his first main level match on indoor hard in his career. He hasn't got much experience at this level anyway. He's only played 5 matches at main level. He's 2-3 win-loss, so limited experience at main level. As far as Shevchenko is concerned, you alluded to it there. He's not been good in his last couple of matches. I think a lot of the problems that he had was fatigue. He played a really long week, didn't he? One match in particular against Echeverry, which he scraped through. It was a really long, tough encounter, and then not massively surprised that he lost the next one to O'Connell, because I just think he was fatigued. I don't think he's the strongest in terms of stamina, as in day after day after day producing his best. I think, still got to develop, I think, for me in that area. So potentially an excuse for his last couple of matches where he maybe wasn't at his fittest or freshest. But if we look at his stats, what he's done, last 10 matches at main level on indoor hard, Shevchenko, very decent stats. Went all the way to the final, wasn't it, in Metz, I think. Lost to Humbert. So his service points won him in 10 points, won total 101 in his last 10. And his service hold and break total is 105. And he's held serve 87% of the time. So he has the bigger weapons. He has the slightly bigger serve. Certainly the heavier ground strokes. I think Svrcina's path to winning this match basically lies in doing something similar to what Munar did to Shevchenko at the Australian Open, which is staying patient, waiting for the errors to come from Shevchenko. But if Shevchenko plays his best, he should be winning this fairly comfortably. If you saw Shevchenko and you've had a couple of bad defeats, and you're now putting that behind you and moving on, you'd be looking at this. They have played once before in the past, haven't they? And Shevchenko bageled him, dropped the first set, then won 6 love 6-2 on the clay. So he should be a class above, in theory, Shevchenko. So, if you're betting on this one, for me, it'd be under 20.5 games. Looks the one with Bet Rivers at that's 1.97, just a squeak of minus money there.
Yeah, a little bit under even money for the under 20.5. It's only a lean. It's Shevchenko against Svrcina. Svrcina,
I think. I'm not 100% on that. I could be wrong, but I think it's Svrcina.
So that's the under. The bet there is the lean at 20.5. And I said 6:30 tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. All these matches start 6:30 a.m. We do not know the order of play yet for Wednesday, but when we do, Bet Rivers will have the timings on their website. And if you do place a bet on this match, and before you head off to work, you'll be able to watch it from the comfort of your own home, and hopefully be cashing a ticket on the under 20.5 games in the Shevchenko match. The next match is another one that, if you look at these two players' form, I mean, it's drastically poor. It's Lestienne up against Zapata Miralles. Lestienne is -$4. Now, I didn't think I'd see the day where Lestienne would be -$4 against someone in the tournament. But Zapata Miralles is +$3. But yet, Zapata Miralles does lead the head-to-head. They met in the Challenger in Prague on clay It was, though, in 2019, 5 years ago. If we look at some of the props, the handicap here is 4.5, minus 114 for Lestienne. Giving up 4.5, and Zapata Miralles receiving 4.5 is plus 112. The total here again is 20.5, with under minus 107 and over minus 118. If we look at their recent records, Lestienne hasn't won a match in the last three. The last match he won was in qualification in Auckland. He got beat by Davidovich Fokina in round one at the Australian Open, and he got beaten at a challenger event last week as well against Harris, the Brit, Willie Harris, very easy as well. But Zapata Miralles also hasn't won a match in his last three. And prior to that, he only won one of his last 7 matches. So both of these players are in terrible, terrible form. Both of them can't be trusted. But the one thing I would say, I think 4.5 on the handicap, that seemed very, very heavy favourite for Lestienne. And the total games, given how erratic they both are, 20.5 might look cheap.
Yeah, this is horrible. Let's not beat around the bush. This is nasty. 2 players hopelessly out of form. Dreadful. Zapata Miralles hasn't beaten anyone ranked inside the top 150 in the world since last July on any surface. That includes his favoured clay. I know he doesn't go so well on the hard courts and grass. That's a given, but no particularly great clay form either. He hasn't won back-to-back matches even at main level since Madrid, which was last April, Zapata Miralles. And his indoor hard record is woeful. At main level, his entire career, 1-7 win-loss, and a service points won, return points won total of 84, and a service hold and break total of 71. He's held serve on indoor hard 55% of the time, so he's only just likely to hold his serve whenever he comes up to the line. He might hold it, he might not. That's basically the stats where we're at here on indoor hard. So looking at that data, you just think, well, Lestienne's a certainty, isn't he? Well, not really. Because Lestienne, last 12 months at main level, he's 2-18 win-loss. So he's won 2 matches out of 20 at this level, Lestienne, in the last 12 months. So immediately, you've got the alarm bells ringing at the sort of price that he is. Was it about 1-4, did you say?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah,
it does seem very, very. I know he's been terrible, but on the prices, I'd have to be on some kind of angle with Zapata Miralles on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on the indoor hard stats. Lestienne's indoor hard court data at main level is a lot better than Zapata Miralles. He's 7-10 win-loss and a service points won, return points won total of 96. That's a good 12 points better than Zapata Miralles. And his service hold and break total is 93, which is 22 points better than Zapata Miralles. So I understand why it's priced as it is. Zapata's horrible indoors. Lestienne is just constant. I keep making that same pun accidentally every time I talk about this guy. Let's try and stop that. He's always injured. Use a different word. Always. He's always got some sort of injury problem, doesn't he? When he comes on the court, he's got the compression socks on, and there's a medical timeouts every 5 minutes. He's always injured. That's what would concern me about backing him at this price, as well as the fact that his form is woeful over the past 12 months. There's a couple of interesting props that Bet Rivers have here. I thought the 3.4 plus 240 about tie break played looks big. Not because of the usual stats where, you're looking at 2 big servers, but the opposite. You could see a ton of breaks here.
Yeah.
And it could be one of those situations where they break each other all the way to a tie break. They played 2 tie breaks against each other on clay in a best of 3. So given out these 2 are really out of form, you can't imagine Lestienne's just going to rock up and hammer him 6-1, 6-2. I'm not sure I see that happening. He'll probably win, but I can't imagine it'll be easy. The problem is Zapata Miralles does have a tendency of being a bit tanky on surfaces that he's not interested in. He'll start out okay, and if he's losing, he does tail off pretty quickly. That would be a concern, but I think 3.4 about a tiebreak is interesting. Or Lestienne to win it 2-1 in the set betting, that's a plus 270 chance for Bet Rivers. I think those are the prices that if I was playing this match, I'd be looking at a big price. I couldn't trust any short prices on these 2 the way their form is. So one of those 2 bets would be the options there, I think.
Yeah, 28 different markets on a match like this that Bet Rivers are offering. I mean, years gone by, you've only seen 2 or 3 of the main markets, 28 different markets. So there must be something you like. I think both of myself and Sean's angle of attack here is that we are leaning towards the value on Zapata Miralles in some capacity. We're not saying he's going to win, but I think Lestienne is a very, very, very. It's a public. If you're betting Lestienne at -$4, it comes with a public wealth warning, not a public health warning.
Yeah, I think you'll get bigger than that in play. If you want to get on Lestienne, I think you'll get bigger than that at some point.
I quite like the over 20.5 at -118 for exactly the same reasons that you were going to say. I was going to say they could break each other, and suddenly hit a 7-5, 7-6 tiebreak, and same again in set number 2, because neither of these can be trusted. I think this will be a great trading match if you were following it live on the Bet Rivers website. I think there'll be in and outs on the markets here, and it could be an interesting one to watch. 28 different markets, as I say, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. This match starts. The order play starts on Wednesday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, nice and early. The final match of the 3, we only know 3, so it's a very short show today. But this is the best match of the day. There's no doubt about it. Borna Coric is up against Pedro Martinez. Borna Coric here is -245. Pedro Martinez is +195. Pedro Martinez justified his head-to-head record against Munar yesterday, beat Munar in straight sets in a bit of a strange match. I watched a few fluctuations in that one. The handicap here, the spread is 3.5, -105 for Coric, giving up 3.5. Martinez receiving 3.5 at -122. And the total here is a lot higher than the first 2 matches, 22.5, with over -103 and under -125. Pedro Martinez yesterday come through against Munar. The head-to-head was right. He won 6-4, 7-6, but Munar did have his chances in the set 2.
2 hours and 17 minutes as well, wasn't it? Just a fit.
2 hours and 17 minutes, like you're never getting that back, Sean.
You aren't. I've seen several of those matches against Munar and Martinez. I remember the one in Tokyo. They played on a lightning quick court in Tokyo about a year or 2 ago, and they made it look like they were playing on sandpaper. The pair of them, it was horrendous. I'm happy to say I didn't see 1 minute of that 2 hour 17 minutes encounter.
I watched the first 10 minutes of it, and Martinez was 3-0 up, and I thought, oh, here we go, because I bet Munar for a little bit of money. And then I saw him recovering. I watched it back again, and then I'm sorry. Before changing the subject, I am one of the biggest jinxes when I watch things like on the scores, or I watch it on the Bet Rivers website, or I see the scores going live. As soon as I switch over, I think I'm going to watch that. My player goes break. Do you ever suffer from that?
Yeah. I tend to turn it off if my player's losing. The toys come out the pram. I'll just go, cobblers to this, and I'll turn it off.
And he does well.
And then I'll give it 20 minutes. And then go back and see if the situation has kind of improved a bit. But I'm not, the older I've got, the less I like watching it live.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, once the match is finished, like 2 hours, 17 minutes of that, which was just a real grind, you just think, well, you're exhausted. You've gone through all these emotions, 2 hours and 17 minutes, and you've scraped a 1.96 winner or something. It can be quite painful sometimes, but yeah, I don't know whether it's a jinx. It's just one of those mental things that bettors have, isn't it? I tend to just switch it off if my player's going to break down. I just think,
every time I switch over, it doesn't matter if I'm watching a sport, if I'm watching any sport, and so it's tennis most of the time. I look at he's 3-1 down, and all of a sudden he breaks up 3-3. I think, watch that, turn it over. Suddenly he's 5-3 down.
Yeah.
And then I turn it back again, and he wins the set.
Yeah, that's happens to me a lot as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So sorry about that. We just changed the subject. Right. If there's any superstitions or any strange things, if anything happens like that to you, where you're watching a match and you can't watch it, let us know in the comments below. So Coric Martinez, interesting match. -245 Coric. What do you think, Sean?
I don't like the price on Coric, that's for sure. I mean, a lot of people will know he's had a career that has been blighted, hasn't it, by regular injuries. Mm-hmm. Didn't play after the US Open last season with an unspecified issue, so didn't play the last sort of quarter of the season. Came back this season at United Cup and then the Australian Open, and just a few days ago he's played a challenger. I'm not going to pronounce the name because I can't, frankly.
If you can't, what chance have I got?
Do you want to try it? The challenger in Belgium?
No. The Belgian challenger.
A challenger in Belgium on indoor hard. He got to the final there. Lost to Raidi, who's a player I talked about a couple of times last season. So it's a lot of this is about fitness with Coric. He had the trainer out a lot of times last week in various matches in that challenger in Belgium. So you're never sure whether he's fit or not. That's the main problem we've got with Borna Coric. He's always got some sort of physical injury. I think he mentioned that the shoulder injury, the right shoulder, is something that he said he's going to have for his whole career. So that keeps kind of cropping up, and that's a problem. And this is going to be a physical match, isn't it, with Martinez? You saw that match with Munar. He's very physical star, Martinez. Doesn't have the biggest of weapons. He just tries to outgrind you. And that, for me, is where Martinez could have the advantage. He did have a long match, 2 hours 17, as I said, against Munor, but he has had a day, or will have had a day off to rest from that. So that's perhaps the chance for Martinez here. If you look at the all-time indoor hard main level stats, Coric's stats they're not that great on indoor hard at main level. Just a 52% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 100. Not great, all right, but not staggeringly good. Martinez has only played 8 matches at this level on indoor hard. And his service points won and return points won total is 97. So the data's not fabulous on Martinez because he's only played 8 matches, but he's not a million miles away from Coric's level. The problem for Martinez is his serve. He's only held serve 72% of the time on indoor hard at main level, and that's, it's not going to be enough, is it? The thing that would put me off back in Coric, if you were a guy that likes to back short prices, is his record at main level when he's priced up in the price bracket between 1.4 and 1.5. That's minus 250 to minus 200. He's lost 6 of his last 11 in that price range. And all time on indoor hard in this price range, he's just 1 and 3 win-loss. So he's not been a reliable favourite lately in this sort of price bracket. And in his career as a whole on this surface, he hasn't been anything like a reliable favourite at those sort of prices. So I definitely couldn't back Coric. I'm concerned about his fitness as ever. He only played that final in Belgium on the 28th, which was 2 days ago. I'd be concerned about him. I'm slightly tempted to back Martinez here, but it's just on a theory that Coric might be fatigued. I think that's my sort of aim on this one.
So Martinez plus 195. If you want to pull the trigger on the money line, you can go to the props as well. 28 different markets available. Bet Rivers here. We're leaning towards Martinez. We're a little bit concerned about the length of his match, but Coric is obviously coming with some injury doubts. He had to pull out the Australian Open, went to a challenger in Belgium, got to the final, but someone who's blighted by injuries over the years at minus 245 and motivation in a 250 event. Is it there for Borna Coric? Big question marks to answer on that one. No official pick from Sean today, just a few leans on it. So the leans would be under 20 and a half games of the Shevchenko match. Lestienne, we're looking at Lestienne to probably win 2-1 or over a tiebreak in the match or a tiebreak in the match, which that was a big price when it's plus 240. Did you say a tiebreak?
Yeah, that's probably the one I'd play based on a sort of risk reward basis. I think that's reasonable odds.
That's the kind of odds you get just for the first set tiebreak. So plus 240 to get a tiebreak in the match in that Lestienne Zapata Miralles. I quite like the over 20 and a half games in that one as well, which is minus 118. And Martinez is a lean against Coric at plus 195. So it isn't the best day of tennis action, but there is plenty of other tennis going on across the world. And the WTA Tour, there's tournaments over in Thailand, in Austria as well. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios, because you get the WTA betting angles where I give a pick. And we have some information from the trading room at the Bet Rivers headquarters where you tell you the bets that they've been seeing money for. And I give my pick. I think I'm something like 8-2, I think, on there. I think
That's pretty good for WTA.
I think I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Turning a profit
plus 4 units up, I think.
You do turning a profit on WTA. I think you're doing very well.
Yeah, we've got a pick tomorrow, so make sure you we'll look at the little video. It's only 55 seconds, so give it a little look. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram and our Twitter account at Because We Win. We have lots of new stuff coming now on Instagram accounts. It's going to be a little bit of a change on Instagram accounts, so make sure you subscribe to that. Be quite interesting stuff coming your way.
There's something I need to know for Indian Wells.
No, all you got to do is wear the t-shirts I'm providing, and that's all you got to do. Nothing else. No,
okay.
Then you make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, as I said, Betting Weekly Studios, and also download the podcast Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on your preferred podcast provider. Sean, thank you very much for your time, my friend. I'm not really massively interested. Not the greatest of cards on the tennis, but nevertheless, if you cash a winning ticket, it's a winning ticket, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's not the greatest of cards, but it is what it is. There's one tournament this week, and it's quite a small one, so not much we can do.
We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, the tennis action a little bit better. Give you some more official plays. Hopefully tomorrow. I think there'll be better quality of matches tomorrow to discuss. We'll be back then, but make sure you watch the show and remember to keep a comment. Give us a comment there, like and a comment. We'll answer as many as we possibly can. Have a good day and cash some tickets. Take care.